In today's video, we are going to be covering the top 5 most forgiving irons in the game of golf right now. If you're a high handicapper, somebody looking for a little bit of extra distance, or just somebody looking for a little bit of help getting the ball up in the air, look no further, this is the video for you. What's up guys, my name is Aaron. I want to thank y'all for tuning into this video. Now look, it's no secret that most of us amateurs out there, we're not going to be hitting the middle of the club face all the time, so we need an iron that's going to be a little bit more forgiving. As a club fitter, I've had the privilege of working with these irons for a while now, so I really have a good grasp of what works and what doesn't. After hundreds of fittings, I've narrowed down my most forgiving irons list to the top 5. Most of these companies are going to be coming out with a new iron line in 2025, so in an effort to clear inventory space, some of these irons might be cheaper than they have been in the past. And that's where I come in. My goal with this video is to help all you golfers out there looking for a little bit more forgiveness find the set that's going to be right for you. I also want to be that voice that you can depend on, that you can trust their opinion on moving forward in the golf world. So like I said, I have it narrowed down to my top 5, so let's get right into it. Up first is going to be the Ping G730 irons. Now Ping promised a lot with these irons, including a lower center of gravity for more launch, more spin, more distance, and higher ball speed, but to their credit, they delivered on all of that and more. Not only do they sound great and go a mile, but they feel pretty good, and the sound is really, really solid for a game improvement iron, and that's a tough thing to do. Another thing I really like about this set is that they go all the way down to sand wedge, and for high handicappers and people looking for forgiveness, uniformity is usually your friend. If you can look at the same shape throughout the whole set of your irons down to sand wedge, that's going to promote a ton of confidence, and confidence is key when we're talking high handicap golfers. Last thing on the G730s is I think they look really, really good for a max forgiveness, game improvement, super game improvement type iron. They look mean and sleek, which I think is only going to help with that confidence that we talked about. That being said, they're probably my second favorite looking iron on this list, but we'll get to the other one soon enough. Moving on to number 2, we got the Mizuno JPX 925 Hot Metals. So not shockingly, these are far and away the best feeling irons that I have on this list. They have a fast and controlled feel, which I think will give a lot of players the illusion that they're hitting a more players type iron than they really are. So it feels great, but it's still offering you a ton of forgiveness. So these irons are going to be pretty hot no matter where you hit it on the face, but one thing that carves a unique space for the Mizuno among the rest of these irons is that they offer a little bit more spin. That spin then turns around and offers you more stopping power on the greens, which is something that's a little bit harder to come by when we're talking about the super game improvement line of irons. The only real negative that I have about these irons is that I didn't see too much of a jump of an improvement from the 923s, which were the year before's model. That being said, the 923s were some of my favorite irons maybe ever, so that's really not that bad of a knock on the 925s. So that old saying, nothing feels like a Mizuno, still reigns true in the 925 Hot Metals. Let's move on to number 3. Next on the list, we got the Titleist T350s. So these irons share the same split tungsten weighting system as every other iron in the T series, so the T100, the T150, and the T200. That's going to lower that center of gravity and really spread forgiveness throughout the entire face, so it shouldn't come as much of a surprise that these are going to offer loads of forgiveness. For me, the feel was super springy. It felt like a launch pad coming off the face, which for me, in this category, I prefer, but that's going to vary person to person. You might not like that. I do. That's part of the reason that it's up here in this list. So going back to that Ping that we talked about earlier, how I said it was my second favorite looking iron on the list, the Titleist T350, by far my favorite. This should be another non-shocker. Titleist is known for making super classic looking irons that really are going to appeal to every golfer. The one thing about the looks that really impressed me most was behind the ball, that top line didn't look super chunky. Normally when you're in the super game improvement category, the top line is going to look super chunky and it's going to look super unappealing for most golfers. But these, they're a little thicker than, a Blade or T100 or T150, but they're definitely not offensive at all. The speed and launch is super consistent across the face, and this is my favorite iron on this list to be included in a split set. For example, if you have the T200s, but you really struggle with your 4 and 5 iron to kind of launch them up in the air a little bit, get a T350 in the 4 and 5. That's a really, really good option, and it should blend seamlessly with the rest of your set. The only real downside to these irons that I see is they are one of the lower spinning irons that we have on this list today, so that could lead to a little bit of a struggle holding greens, but the goal is to get them to launch high enough so our landing angle is steep enough so the spin doesn't matter as much. So that is something to keep in mind when you're going around shopping for these, but overall, the T350s are a super, super solid option. Moving on to number 4. In the next slot, we got the Taylormade Qi irons. So these are my number 1 option for players who struggle with a big old slice. They're draw bias irons, and they have a ton of thought into the weight distribution in every iron all the way down throughout the set. With a lower center of gravity in the longer irons for ease of launch and more distance, and a higher center of gravity in the shorter irons for maximum forgiveness, these irons do a really good job of being tailor-made for you as a player. You guys get it? You get the tailor-made joke? All right, we'll move on. The main downside of these irons is that off the face, they do feel a little bit hard and clicky, which for most people is not going to be the most desirable feel. So if you're one of those people that really values a soft, buttery feeling when you hit an iron, these might not be the winners for you. They do, however, do a great job of eliminating cut spin to help with any slices, and they're a great distance iron, so maybe for you, you're willing to sacrifice one for the other. So the Taylormade Qi iron, tons of forgiveness, great option for you. Let's move on to number 5. Last but not least, we got the Cobra Darkspeed irons. So these irons are going to be really, really good for one specific type of player, and that's going to be those looking to cut spin. Whatever your reason may be for having too much spin, these irons are going to do a great job of eliminating some of that spin and creating a little bit of a lower piercing launch if you launch it too high. Personally, I think these irons look really, really good with the darker kind of charcoal-y look. But that's going to be something that varies person to person. What shouldn't vary person to person, however, is how good these irons feel. I was a little bit surprised. I didn't necessarily expect Cobra to have my second favorite feeling iron on this list, but they do, only behind the Mizuno, and we're not really shocked about that. They felt surprisingly soft, and they felt almost like the rest of the Cobra lineup, like the King Tours and your more player-like irons. They didn't feel too far off from those. So while they're a little bit more specialized, since most players in the super game improvement category are looking to gain a little bit more spin, these do a really good job of lowering spin, and overall Cobra killed it with these irons. I'm really impressed. So there you have it. They're my top 5 most forgiving irons in the golf game right now. Now, we're going to go ahead and move on to 3 irons that I'm really looking forward to in the year 2025. First up, we got the Cobra Limited 3D printed irons. So with a price tag of over $3 grand for a set of these irons, they better be special. So I'm going to read a little blurb about what Cobra says on their website. It says, the Limited irons utilize 3D printing technology to push beyond the capabilities of traditional casting and forging to develop a compact player's blade profile that has a soft forged feel and the forgiveness of an oversized game improvement iron. Now, they're promising a lot there. And I'm a little skeptical because I feel like that's something that we get promised every year as consumers. And up to this point, there hasn't really been anything that's delivered on all of that yet. So hopefully I can get my hands on a set and really put it to the test myself. If I can get my hands on a set, is that something that y'all would want to see me review? If it is, make sure y'all let me know. If it's not, also let me know. Number 2, we got the Ping G440 iron set. So this past year with the Ping G430s, they were a really solid iron that kind of paired with their driver well. We know the color scheme this year is going to be black and blue, which I think could look really good. But I really want to see Ping build off what they did with the Ping G430s. I thought the G430s performed pretty well. They didn't stand out above everybody else, but the one area I thought they were lacking was looks. I think the rest of the Ping irons look really good, and the Ping G430s kind of stuck out like a sore thumb. So I'm really hoping that the Ping G440 set can kind of blend in with the rest of the irons and you know, fill that looks gap, but still perform really well. Basically, I hope Ping did it right and improved on an already super solid product. Last is going to be the new and improved iron lineup from Titleist. So I've heard that in mid to late 2025, Titleist is going to have a new set of irons coming out. I would heavily assume that it's going to be a new iteration of the T series, so the T100s, the T150s, the T200s, and then the ones we talked about, the T350s. If that's the case, I'm super excited to see what Titleist has cooked up. Anytime Titleist drops anything, it's going to be a big deal, and usually they deliver, so I'm really excited to see what Titleist has coming out for this upcoming year. And that's all I got for you. Guys, I want to thank you all for tuning in, sticking with me this whole time. Let me know in the comments which one of these irons you think would best suit your game. Also, let me know if there are any irons that I missed that are going to be coming out next year that you're looking forward to. Hope y'all enjoyed. Make sure we're hitting that like and subscribe button down below. It really helps me out a ton. And yeah, until next time, we'll catch you. Peace out.